The next up, it is the Las Vegas. No, it's the LA Bowl, SoFi Stadium here in Inglewood, California. Fresno State and Washington State. Washington State 2.5-point favorites here, 53.5 being the total in this game. Fresno State, congrats to them and thanks to them because I was on them against Boise State in the Mountain West Championship game. Slow start for Jake Haener, but once he got it going, and once that offense got it going against Boise, there was no stopping them. They played very well for a large part of that remaining part of that game, and they ended up getting a nice victory in the Mountain West Championship game, 28-16 victory for Fresno State over Boise State. Washington State actually ended the season pretty solidly, 3 wins in their last 4 games, although they did lose the Apple Cup in their final regular season game, 51-33 to Washington. So they'll be looking to bounce back from that. As far as these two teams are concerned, you've got Fresno State once again in a bowl game this year, something that I'm sure will excite them quite a bit going into this one after a tough season last year. And when you look at it too for Washington State, I'd expect enthusiasm here for them for this bowl game. Washington State last year, they played that bowl game against Central Michigan. They ended up losing at 24-21 in that bowl game that they appeared in last year. And of course, 2 years ago, they weren't in a bowl game at all. 3 years ago, they were in one against Air Force and they lost 31-21. They've actually had a bad track record, and this goes back to when Mike Leach coached Washington State years ago. They've got a pretty bad track record, actually, in bowl games. Now, I don't want to attach that stigma to this team because every year you're talking about a different team. But the fact remains, Washington State's been a bad bet in bowl games for years. And I think when you look at this Fresno team, they have been very strong, winning games, covering point spreads, really ever since Jake Haener came back. I'm interested in them as a slight underdog right now in this game against Washington State. My early lean definitely to the Bulldogs. What do you think here, Conor Mack?
I think this one should be good. Yeah, shout out to Fresno. I thought they were the better team, and they went into Boise and got it done. A lot of 2.5s that I see now. Still, I think Fresno, I think they want one bad. Not a lot of distractions. Win down the stretch. Then the big win was Boise. You got to think they're just loose here. And Washington State kind of scuffling down the little bit of the stretch and losing to Washington. This Washington State team I thought was pretty good defensively, except some of the passing teams, whether it was Washington, Oregon, their defense kind of got ripped apart. So I think if Haener can get it going, they could have a problem. But one thing, this total has gone up. Maybe that initially was good, but I think if we start getting 55 or 56, I'm going to look the other way. I was impressed how Fresno's defenses play. I thought they were impressed against Boise.
Me too.
And
yep.
Yeah, and Washington State, in other of those blowout games, the defense was pretty good, opportunistic at times against some of the other teams. So that's their crazy speed fast here, get up and go. I kind of look under. If this keeps going up and up and up in the total, I'm going to look to the under. And I look the Bulldogs a little bit as well. The struggles of Washington State, in the bowl games hasn't been great. So I think the Bulldogs get it done here, a little loose. Jake Haener and this team ended well.
You also have to factor in a great passing offense, 27th in the country, 269 passing yards per game for Fresno. Of course, those numbers went up instantly when Haener returned from injury. Washington State secondary got gashed repeatedly, 112 in the country in pass defense, Washington State.
Yeah.
And I remember, and look, Michael Penix Jr. in that Apple Cup did a number on that Washington State secondary. They could not stop the Huskies passing game, and it's a concern matchup-wise for Washington State here in this game in the LA Bowl as they take on Fresno.
Ward, too, is a key. Real quick, Cam he's Ward. A key. Yep. Yes, yep. He has just been hit and miss. If he's off throwing a few interceptions, that would be rough for Washington State. When he's been clean, he controls the game, and the offense kind of moves. But that'll be interesting in this matchup, too.